I'm Iris Ruth Pastor, and I'm here today with Carey Goldberg for a little small talk. And Carey Goldberg is a woman who took matters into her own hands when her life unfolded in a way that she just wasn't happy with. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Carey.
Thank you, Iris.
I understand that you're coming to Tampa for Jewish Book Month, and you'll be entertaining Tampa audiences on Saturday night, November 13th at 7 p.m.
Yes, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to hosting you. And your book is called 3 Wishes, a true story of good friends, crushing heartbreak, and astonishing luck on our way to love and motherhood. That is quite a title, and I think those adjectives are pretty strong. And I was wondering if you could kind of speak to that.
To the strength of the adjective?
Right.
Yeah. Well, it was a very dramatic story. It was actually a very dramatic triple story. I mean, it wasn't about war or, any huge historical events, but in the life of a woman, reaching the point when you know that you've got to have a baby soon or else you'll run out of time can be a highly dramatic situation.
That makes sense. Your tagline also talks about the story of good friends, and I know that there were 2 good friends that went through this with you, and I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about them.
Yes, the 2 friends that are mentioned are Beth Jones and Pamela Ferdinand, and both of them are journalists who ended up in a situation very similar to mine.
Well, wasn't one of them, though, didn't she get divorced? So she was married and then she got divorced because her husband left her for a personal trainer?
Yes, that's right.
See, we like to get these details in.
Okay. Yes, actually, maybe I'll run through the story and then
Okay.
You'll have the basic outline.
Okay.
So basically, the story begins when I turned 39. I was very successful in my career. I was the Boston bureau chief of the New York Times, but I was still single. And despite dating and dating, I just couldn't seem to find Mr. Right. So when I turned 39, which was the deadline I had always set for myself, that if I weren't married by the time I was 39, I would become a single mother, I sort of took a deep breath and said, okay, I'm going to have to go through with it. And I actually ordered 8 vials of donor sperm from a sperm bank. But then just as those vials arrived, I met the man who would become my husband and the father of our 2 children. Didn't need the sperm anymore, and it just so happened that Beth had recently come out of this really horrendous divorce. The only thing that wasn't bad about her divorce was that she came out of it a multimillionaire.
No,
So that was actually that was some solace. But she was very traumatized by the divorce. She was kind of rebuilding her life, and she too reached the point where she said, "All right, I'm in my late 30s. I know I want a child." Each one of us, when we reached that decision point, we thought about it very deeply. It wasn't something we undertook lightly. But so she decided to go ahead and become a single mother. And our third friend, Pam, who was friends with each of us, but Beth and I didn't know each other, kind of fixed us up. She did a little shidduch. And she said to Beth, my friend Carey has some sperm that she never used. And Beth came and met me, and we really liked each other instantly. And she ended up inheriting the sperm. Well, no sooner did Beth get the sperm than she met the man who would become her husband and the father of their child. She didn't need the sperm anymore. And meanwhile, Pam, our third friend, was also reaching her late 30s. She had actually met a man. She fell madly in love with him, but he was married, and she was absolutely unwilling to get involved with a married man. So she became the third recipient of the sperm. But then eventually things worked out between her and the married man, and so she didn't need the sperm either. So that's the basic storyline, and it's all true.
Well, getting back to real life, what gave you the energy and the motivation to even look into the sperm bank option? Because that's a radical thing to do. Were you frantic, or were you just so determined to change the course of your life? What was your motivation?
I think my motivation was one of the deepest motivations that humans can know, which is the desire to have a child, the desire to reproduce. It's not something rational. It's something just very, very deep down. And I had always known that I wanted to be a mother, and I had never purposely postponed motherhood. It just was that it hadn't worked out. And so I don't know why I had set this age of 39 as my deadline, but I did. If I had it to do over again, I would have done it earlier. I would have made sure. I mean, there are lots of wonderful ways to become a mother, and you know, if you adopt or use artificial reproductive technology, that's all wonderful too. But I just was amazingly lucky that even though I waited that long, it was still fairly easy to have a child.
And where in the process did people start asking you about, why don't you write a book on this? How did that come about?
Well, actually, I started keeping a very detailed journal right when I decided to go ahead with the decision to become a single mother, because a very difficult and emotional decision, and the writing sort of helped me process what I was going through. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe this will be a book someday, but it wasn't. It wasn't the primary motivation for writing. And Beth and Pam were also journal as well. So we all had a lot of good memory aids for when we decided to write the book. But it really wasn't until Pam was pregnant, actually, so the third of us was pregnant, that the three of us were just looking at each other and we said, this is an amazing story. We have to write this. And a big part of the motivation for writing it was also that when you're a single woman and you're in your 30s or later, all you ever hear is gloom and doom. All you ever hear is, oh, the odds are against you to meet somebody. The odds are against you to be able to have a child. And so we felt like sharing our story was kind of an antidote to all of the negative news that you get when you're in that situation.
Did you get any type of reaction from single mothers who are raising children and they're not married? Did you get any type, because you all ended up in more, what would be the word for it, ideal circumstances than single mothers. So do you have any feedback on that or advice for single mothers?
Well, it's been kind of complex, because actually what was somewhat painful to us was that some of the feedback we got was that single mothers thought that we were implying that there was something inferior about a single mother family, when in fact the message that at least I was trying to convey was that we're incredibly lucky to be living here and now and have this as an option. I mean, just one other element that I'd like to add is
Okay.
that friendship is a very central element of the book. And we really like that the book is about a very positive friendship in which girlfriends support each other and really root for each other to get what they really want in life, to the point that they actually pass along the means to it. Because so many books about girlfriends are kind of negative and about cattiness and jealousy and nastiness. And in fact, our book is really about the wonderful side of female friendship and how we help each other along through the difficult points in life.
That's wonderful. And you'll find us in Tampa to be like that. We're very bonding people. Anyway, thank you so much for your time today. And Carey will be coming to Tampa for Jewish Book Month on Saturday night, November 13th at 7 p.m. I'm Iris Ruth Pastor, a contributor to Let My People Know, which is an outreach and engagement initiative.